competency. They're different. There's a broad range of areas to get a competency in. But I've never been interested in them because one, they're expensive, and I don't really feel you get much of a return for them, especially for a small shop like mine. Um, but when I was reading about this competency, one thing that came up with is they're going to be discontinuing the small business specialist community, which is what I am. And they're going to transfer this to this small business competency.
Okay.
So what does that mean for me or any other small business specialist? It means a couple things. You got to pass more tests and pay more money. That's what it means.
Okay.
It's interesting. I guess they're trying to, if you follow Microsoft certifications, they change constantly.
Yeah, they always change. Are they trying to validate you as being okay? You know what you're doing, supposedly.
Yeah, and the partner. This is supposed to be a way to connect with customers, and the competencies are meaning. So if they go online to Microsoft's website, and they're searching, they might find you as competent in this area. It's good in theory, but how many people do you know that go on the Microsoft site to find an IT person?
That's very true. There's a server package, one MCP must pass two exams. The fees are $18.50 based on your country. Then there's the gold package. You need to pass two exams. It seems like you have to pass more tests, and it's $3,800 based on your country. So again, I put a link in the chat room. Let me give you a tiny URL if you're interested in what this is. Just give me 1 second. I'll get that for you.
And while you're getting that, they have you do get things when you pass this. You don't just get lists on their site. So like for the silver competency for partners, you get internal use, 15 licenses for products. And this
okay.
is on a server products, desktop products, office products. You get 15 licenses for that, which should be enough to cover your small business, right? You get cloud offering licenses. You get licenses for Intune. You get licenses for Office 365. And this is for your internal company to use, not to resell. They're NFR, not for resale. So they're for you to use internally. Of course, you get to use the logo, and you get some marketing stuff, but you get licensing is a big deal. So you don't have to pay for your server if you're running a server, which you should be. You get your server, you get server licenses, you get your Windows licenses, you get Office licenses, you get all that stuff when you pass this stuff. So there are some benefits to this. So your money's not going just to have your name on their website, basically.
Right.
Now, one thing I found interesting looking at the requirements, let's look at the silver, because really that's what most people listening to this would go for. That's what I'm going to go for, because I'm the only small business specialist in my company, which is enough to be a member of the small business specialist community.
Right, because you only need one member, right?
Well, there's 3 partners, there's other techs, but we only need one certified to get the benefits.
Right, that's what I meant. And before Matt goes any further, the tiny URL is tinyurl.com Podnutz Pro 56. tinyurl.com Podnutz Pro 56.
Now, before the requirement, and there still are the requirements. It's going to be this way for the next year, but you're going to have to roll over anyway. So, to this new stuff. Before you could be a Microsoft partner registered user, meaning you go to the site, you sign up, it doesn't cost anything. Now you're a registered partner. You pass the necessary test for the small business specialist. You pass, I think, a sales or licensing exam, and you subscribe to the action pack. The action pack is you get licenses for server, Windows, Office, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So there was no fee necessarily, because the fees were certain things. You're paying for the test, you're paying for the action pack, and if you met those requirements, now you're part of the small business server specialist community. Now with the new one, you've got to pass tests, you got to pay the fee. Now you get licensing, but you're not getting the action pack, you're getting other internal use licensing. But the tests you have to pass, I found were interesting for the silver. There's one test you have to pass that's required. and it's the administering Office 365 test. That's required. Now you got to pass another test, and there's three choices: deploying Office 365, configuring Windows 7, or configuring Windows Small Business Server 2011. Do you find that odd?
They seem to pick. It's a wide. The Office. You would think they will force you to do small business.
They should force the small business server.
Right.
Yeah, they're forcing Office 365, administering Office 365. Deploying is optional. That's just strange. You know, the only thing I can think of why they're doing that is because they are really pushing toward the cloud offerings, really pushing it. They don't really want you to have a small business server. Going by this, they want you to use Office 365.
Yeah, I mean, because when I seen that right off the bat, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, because it would be beneficial for you to, but we talked about certification before, the knowledge you gain from pursuing one. And I mean, small business server, you would think would be required. I definitely agree.
So, Office 365 might be great, but let's look at the target audience. Under 100 users for small business server.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is technically what it is. It's 75 users, but under 100. They call it under 100, is what Microsoft calls it. Let's say you got 80 users. You tell me you're not going to have a server? That you're going to rely on Office 365 for 80 users?
No, because the client will still want to share files and Exchange and.
Well, they don't know. They want you to have hosted Exchange. They want you to have Office 365 to store the documents and collaborate in the cloud. They really don't want you to have a server. But I don't think it's feasible.
I don't know. I mean, if anyone is listening out there and you really push the Office 365 and that's how you run some small offices, I mean, I would love to see what your experience is if you have a server or not. I mean, no, but I agree that is kind of different. I would wonder what is Microsoft's actual stance on why that is.
Yeah, because you have that many users, you're going to need central authentication. You're probably going to have line of business applications that are running on servers anyway. I just don't understand. And Office 365, I'm sure, is great for some instances. Like I said, there's no one solution for everybody. I'm sure this fits the needs for a lot of people. But when you get larger, and to force that as a required examination, I just don't understand. I'm reading here, the silver competency, you get 25 Windows Intune licenses.
Okay.
For gold, you get 75. And the reason is you're going to have a larger company if you have gold.
Sure.
Now, these Intune licenses are for your use, remember? So you're supposed to use this on your network to get familiar with it, to learn how to use it so you can support it.
Right. They're not to be resold.
Right.
Please don't do that.
Right. Now, the other one, the Action Pack, you would get 10 internal use rights. So with this competency, you're getting a little more. You're getting 15. So, but it's more of a cost. I'm gonna do it. I've already ordered a book for administering Office 365, and it is something that I'm gonna have to get into more because I don't know if it's gonna fit clients until I learn about it.
Sure. I mean, you have to get familiar with the product before you can yay or nay it.
Right. Now we do hosted exchange. We're a reseller through other companies for hosted exchange, but if you're supporting business, you need to learn, especially what the offerings are from Microsoft. You might not need to learn every offering from every company, but you definitely learn the offerings from Microsoft because that's kind of like the standard. They're going to be pushing this stuff. So, and you're going to be asked about it because they're doing more and more marketing. People hear about this stuff. So you have to know how it works and know if they say, I want to do this and I want to use Office 365, you've got to know right off the bat, yes or no. Here's the pros, here's the cons. So I'm going to be doing this. I have to do it because we're small business support. So I need to have the competency to continue the partner level with Microsoft. So I'll be learning Office 365 if I like it or not.
There you go. Let me jump on that. And there's an email, submitted from Door Geek, some individual who I got the pleasure to meet a few months back. So he sent us an email with free Microsoft books. And once I find it, my world would be so much better. All right. So, and there's a free books being offered from Microsoft, which is cool, of course. And titled Free eBooks, great content from Microsoft Press that are good books that won't cost you a penny. So some of them are the following: SQL Server 2012. Now these are available in PDF format. SQL Server 2008 R2, Windows Server 2008 R2, along with some other books: Office 365, Mr. Matt Rainey, Office 2010, Security and Privacy for Office 2010, and deploying Windows 7. If it's free, like my girlfriend says, it's for me. So let me get you a tiny URL here in a second.
Yeah, some of these books are, I mean, definitely, if you especially if you're interested in these topics, definitely go check out these books, because these might be, and I'm trying to get back to the list. They maybe not as in depth, like it's introducing Windows Server 2008 R2, which is good. It's going to give you an overview. It's not going to be everything you need,
Right.
but it will definitely give you an overview as a good starting point, good reference. Introducing SQL Server 2008 R2. There's some programming. Yeah, so it's definitely a good place, a starting point, if you're interested in learning Windows Server 2008 R2. Now, Windows Small Business Server 2011. That's the overall product. Underneath, it is Windows Server 2008 R2.
Right.
It's got added features like the remote web workplace and SharePoint, but it is Server 08 R2.
That's tinyurl.com. SITS, M as in mom, S as in Sam, Q as in Quebec, 4, T as in Tom, J as in Juliet. So definitely check out the free ebooks. Again, thank you, Dor, for submitting that. Appreciate it. So I'll move that out of my email queue. And I still go back to that email with the that you covered. I cannot get rid of the email. It's there forever. All right. This email is from Chris. Matt and Lalo. I have a client that wants to replace their old server with a new one. The only thing, it does run Microsoft Dynamics. They have 3 users that connect to it. They don't use it for backups, file sharing, domain, nothing, just Dynamics. They are complaining that Dynamics is way too slow and think the server is the issue. I'm going to quote a gigabit switch and adapters for the workstations that need them, but wanted to get your thoughts on what the server hardware should be. I'll listed below the specs on the current server. If you need more info, have any other recommendations that would help me out, let me know. Thanks again for all the shows. So, I'll let you take over with the specs he had suggested.
Well, let's see. That's the he said the specs that he the specs. Sorry, he said the specs. Is that the specs that he has, or the specs that he's going to?
I would have to think that's
on the current server. Okay, so that's
right on the current server. It has server 2003 R2, 32-bit.
Okay. 3 users. I don't care what the specs are. If it's 3 users, it should work fine. I mean, but a Xeon 3.2, which this server sounds decent.
I mean, it should definitely run for what he has. And for Microsoft Dynamics, I haven't played with it. I'm going to be totally honest. It is an ERP system, which stands for, I forget what it stands for, but you as a business can manage all your information in one central location. Would that be a good way of saying it? Your accounting, your financing, as someone at home is like, you idiot, doesn't know what it does. But my question is okay, let me ask you this. How would you determine if the server is the issue? Regardless of what application he's talking about, let's say someone tells you, my server is slow. what do you do to determine that isn't the issue?